Hey, just a quick thing to explain what this is. Riot's been doing these like press conferences with the teams for Worlds. So anyway, that's what you're seeing here. It's like a Zoom call, but I thought it's cool content, so I just decided to post the whole thing. Enjoy.
Thanks so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and good afternoon. We'll be talking a little bit about the 2020 summer split and closing things out. I think the last time we all met like this, exactly like this, although I don't think I could get my camera to work last time, I talked about how I was hoping to be able to do our next one of these in person. So as with all things in COVID, I will again repeat that next year, I hope that COVID has receded enough that I can spend a bunch of our budget building myself some kind of ornamental podium with lots of microphones, and everyone can come and hang out and heckle me in person, which is, I think, the appropriate thing to do for a league commissioner. I'm coming to you live from the Commissioner Cave, which, if it was a real thing, I'm sure my partnerships team would find some way to sell to a sponsor. Earlier today, you may have seen the video teasing this week's finals opening ceremony featuring rapper Logic. We're excited for the big reveal to finally be able to share that with fans. It's something that we've never kind of done before on this scale for the LCS. But instead of talking about too much about this weekend, finals weekend coming up, we want to take a look back over the past year, which brought with it a lot of surprises and a lot of opportunities for us here at the LCS to adapt. Esports has really been in the limelight for the last several months. We were inspired by our teams, by our partners, and of course by fans who also continued to move forward amid the age of COVID. We partnered with immersive design studios to produce remote broadcast and bring viewers into the LCS Dome, a beautiful and unique 3D world. We had 75 strategically placed virtual cameras and a pre-animated camera, which could move across dynamic sets and environments, and 2 presenting partners, and a very patient Rift Herald, which made it all possible. While we can never replace the atmosphere of a live event, and I will tell you on behalf of the entire our pros and our orgs, like, we very much miss our home and our arena. The Dome created a more dynamic environment. It allowed us to integrate elements from the physical LCS studio, like our championship banners that hang over the stage, as well as partnership activations, and we're very proud of the result. Speaking of partners, even amid an absence of in-person activations, people making their State Farm signs or getting their Bud Light air tattoos, the league welcomed several new partners, including Verizon, Samsung SSD, and Buffalo Wild Wings, B-Dubs. We also introduced new activations with some of our existing partners. So Alienware and State Farm, as I mentioned earlier, helped bring the LCS Dome to life. Red Bull launched limited edition cans featuring League of Legends champions, also expanded its annual 1v1 competition to the US and Canada. I haven't had a chance to grab the cans for my little wall of League of Legends stuff, but I hope all of you have. During playoffs, you may have noticed that Honda became our first ever Summoners Rift in-arena banner partner. So in addition to the LCS banners, as champions walk around, you'll also see Honda and Civic represented on the Rift. Verizon is owning the show match for Summer Finals, which is this Friday. Features team captain Sneaky and Meteos, and MasterCard is again our presenting partner for the opening ceremony, featuring 2-time Grammy nominee Logic, which, as I mentioned earlier, we announced this morning. We also saw some success, continued success from Friday Night League, our 3rd night of broadcast. We feel like we made the right move, moving Monday Night League to Fridays. And from our perspective, Friday Night League has outperformed kind of anything that we were doing on Monday nights. It's hard to compare apples to apples, especially given that we stopped running Monday Night League in week 8 of the LCS and spring split when we moved to a full remote opportunity. But we believe that the performance we've seen from Friday night provides a pretty bright future, and we expect that Friday Night League will return in 2021. We continued our very successful co-streaming program this split, which we have piloted in the past and really kicked off in spring of this year, and that has helped expand the LCS to new audiences. We partnered with popular League of Legends content creators and personalities, and that led to a 50% co-streaming viewership growth just between spring and summer. With awesome new additions like Sneaky and Meteos and Myth, it's allowed us to tailor the viewing experience for fans whether they're interested in a relaxed or an especially analytical backdrop for our games. We're further extending those relationships with our show match. Again, can't stop plugging it, Team Medios and Team Sneaky, Friday night. It's going to be great. We also align with partners and teams to drive viewership throughout the split. But I could highlight the efforts of our publishing team, our broadcast team, and our content team as we push things like Week 5's TSM and Cloud9 matchup. We had a lot of fun producing and promoting the classic show match that we ran on Friday night with the old school Cloud9 team and the old school TSM team we all remember with Voyboy. And that initiative led to a 25% year-over-year average minute audience and AMA increase for that week. And it's something that we'll look to revisit again next year, not just Cloud9 TSM, but really looking to create a viewing experience every single week of the LCS. Speaking of fun matchups, the summer was full of interesting competitive storylines as well. So as a result, it shouldn't be too surprising that this was the most watched summer split since 2017. You can look at the competitive parity that we saw, the comeback play of certain teams, notable players moving to new or old teams, depending on who we're talking about, and the ascension of young athletes and coaches. But we'll get back to that in just a minute. Looking at viewership, overall, it's been very strong. So our AMA is up 25%, peak viewership is up 40% year over year. Going into finals weekend, we achieved 182,000 AMA for the summer split, which includes regular season and playoffs. And that's a 25% increase year over year. In addition, the TSM Cloud9 match from last weekend had an AMA of 467,000 and hit a peak of 520,000 viewers. All of this furthers all of this is in further support of the LCS's position as the third most watched professional sport in North America for the 18 to 34-year-old demographic, sitting only behind the NFL and NBA. So now we've been able to see the rise of FlyQuest, now in back-to-back finals. We have the incredible run and eventual fall of Cloud9 and TSM returning to old form. And we've been able to see newer teams rise like Golden Guardians. Our fans continue to see impressive play from Team Liquid, which captured Rookie of the Year and Coaching Staff of the Split awards this summer. And the Honda MVP will be awarded tomorrow at noon Pacific time. And that's a pretty close battle right now between Team Liquid's Core JJ and TSM's Bjergsen. We also welcome back in 2020 some familiar franchise names, Evil Geniuses, Immortals, Dignitas, all coming back to look to pick up where they left off when we last saw them in the LCS. As impressive as the performances were in the Rift, as impressive as it was to see two new teams, both Fly and Evil Geniuses, make it to finals weekend across both splits. FlyQuest both this year, this split and last split, and Evil Geniuses in spring. And for one of those teams, FlyQuest, to reach its very first Worlds, we saw our teams do some amazing things off of the Rift. So e.g. Golden Guardians and FlyQuest produced some standout branding campaigns and fresh content. FlyQuest turned heads with its Go Green initiative in the spring through TreeQuest, and then in the summer through SeaQuest. And the LCS content team worked closely with a number of teams' creative groups to share footage and ideas and make sure we were producing the best content that we could for fans. Dig and League partner Verizon partnered on a new training facility. 100 Thieves and Team Liquid extended their brand reach through thoughtful merchandise and apparel collaborations. CLG invested in amateur play with its virtual gaming camp and embraced the Valorant Ignition series. And overall, we are proud to have two women-led organizations in the LCS for the first time in both FlyQuest and Evil Geniuses. The league, from a social perspective, followed suit. We rallied around important causes like Black Lives Matter. We launched a donation program that matched more than $130,000 in donations from teams, team staff, the LCS Players Association, and helped contribute a combined $260,000 across the ACLU, the NAACP, the Innocence Project, and the Center for Policing Equality. And all of this in service of aiding the fight against systemic racism in the United States. We're excited about the future of the LCS, and as such, we shared our intention to bring the academy, scholastic, and amateur scenes together under the LCS, ensuring a healthy pipeline of future athletes and industry talent. Similarly, we are dedicating efforts toward a sustainable ecosystem, focusing on team sustainability and the ability to grow the league with new partners who embrace our fans and players in real and authentic ways. We have a real opportunity to extend how we share that talent and those partnerships with the world, as our media rights are up for renegotiation in 2021, and we are right now in active discussion with potential partners for who's going to partner with us. We'll continue to keep you posted on these efforts and other 2021 developments as more information becomes available and the time is appropriate. Until then, we're thrilled to celebrate this weekend's finals, and we're eager to see how our teams fare at Worlds this fall in China. But at this point, I will stop blathering on. I am happy to stay past 1 o'clock, considering how long-winded I was, and I only left 3 minutes at the end, but happy to answer any questions that you all have. And thanks.
Thanks so much, Chris. Okay, we've got a first question here from Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Hi.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, my question pertains to the style the LCS has. You touched on it a bit earlier that things like Friday Night League were perceived to be a success, but the LCS has also received criticism over the course of this split in terms of its broadcasting format and not having exactly, I think many people compared it to the LEC as well in terms of its production. So for 2021, how will the LCS approach its production, and are you looking to, let's say, not necessarily revive, but reignite or revamp the look of the LCS?
Yeah, I think we're always in discussions, and thank you for the question. We're always in discussions about ways we can make the broadcast better, and we're not deaf to criticism, compliments, complaints, kind of everything that's coming out of the community. So, I can't go into to specifics as we're working through some stuff on our side, but we are looking to take a real hard look at our the look and feel of kind of everything we do in the LCS as we look towards next year. I think the other piece too is, we spent the last 18 weeks of competition for the LCS in a remote situation, right? Since basically March 13th of this year. When you go into that kind of situation, so we had no talent in the studio. We had no one working the control room in the studio. Everything was being produced through the cloud. And when you give up the kind of control room that we have at the LCS, kind of all our bells and whistles and our toys, it does have a dramatic impact on the things that we can deliver. So despite the criticisms, we're very proud of the product that we've been able to deliver to fans over the course of COVID, throughout remote production. And we are looking forward to the time when we can get back into the studio and kind of get our hands back on the things that will really allow us to kind of accelerate the development of the product that we provide to fans.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Our next question from Eduardo.
Hey. Hi, Chris. As you said, 2021, they're gonna be the new media rights are coming. So, as someone from Mexico who tries to bring the passion from LEC, from LCS, from all the different leagues to Latin America fans, it's a little bit difficult with LCS considering there's no stream in Spanish. That's not the case with LEC, that LVP has the stream in Spanish for Spain mainly. This baffles me a little bit since LCS is right away from Mexico. So is there any plans to bring LCS stream to Spanish-speaking countries?
I'll tell you, I can't give you a hard yes or no because
Okay.
the decision hasn't been made, but we've spent a lot of time talking about that because, outside of, our friends to the south, there's a pretty large Spanish-speaking population in the U.S. as well. So it's definitely a topic that we've considered in the past. And as we are talking about our media rights for 2021, definitely something that we intend to consider for next year. So I know maybe isn't a particularly fulfilling answer, but it's, certainly better than a no. But we see a lot of value to being able to deliver the LCS content to people in the languages and in the settings that are like kind of most resonant with them. So it's definitely something that is on the radar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, next question from Nick.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely, Nick.
Awesome. Hi, Chris. So in early August, you announced that Riot's hiring someone to oversee the growth and expansion of Scholastic esports ecosystems.
Yeah.
In Riot's vision for the Scholastic scene, can you talk about any efforts or plans made to allocate these resources to bring some of the programs to like HBCUs or Black communities as a direct way to get more Black people involved?
Yeah, it's something, especially when we started to think about our response around Black Lives Matter. It's one of the first topics that we talked about, right? It was like, how do we deliver internships? How do we deliver the LCS? And how do we deliver kind of gaming opportunities, right? Whether it's competitive gaming opportunities. So I'm not necessarily talking academy or amateur, but or not necessarily talking academy or LCS, but talking about amateur, and then you're just like general college competition as well. It's one of the programs that we do have earmarked to work through with the new Scholastic lead. It's not something that we've kind of drawn up before we get that person in the door, right? Because we do want to give our hire the ability to craft some of those programs and to look to further the values that we value in the LCS and that we want to push throughout the entire competitive scene. So we don't have a plan drawn up at this point, but we do have a desire to make sure that we can bring competitive League of Legends to not only underserved communities like in the traditional sense, right, but underserved communities from a kind of competitive video game or competitive League of Legends sense as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question from Jared.
Hello. I also had a question regarding the amateur scene, sort of a two-parter. First one, much shorter. Do you guys have any specific plans for a virtual Honda Scouting Grounds coming up?
Scouting Grounds is not being canceled. So yes, we do.
Okay. And then the second question, with with Riot looking to take over a larger, or not take over, but have a larger presence in the amateur scene, how do you guys plan on working with some of the different leagues who have been fostering these leagues over, the Scouting Grounds this year, along the lines of like Big League, Risen, the LWL, obviously? How do you plan on keeping those leagues within the threshold, but also creating something more unique?
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time having conversations with kind of various stakeholders in the amateur scene. So whether it's tournament organizers, team organizers, or amateur players, to make sure that as we're looking to make some shifts in the amateur scene, which could come as early as 2021, that we're doing so in a way that's thoughtful. There was, when franchising came in 2018, we removed promotion relegation. Academy was a closed system. There was no real support offered by the LCS for the amateur scene in North America. But yet it continued, right? People who were passionate about it continued to sign up for teams, continued to organize teams, continued to have tournaments, found ways to fund prize pools, found ways to continue to develop talent. Even when the LCS, we just weren't paying a lot of attention to that part of our ecosystem. So we're very grateful for all the work that's been done in the amateur system. And we want to make sure that we don't repay that hard work by coming in and kind of stepping on a system that has worked without us. What we want to do is find ways that we can support the system, find ways to add more resources into that system, help it grow, help put more visibility on the players and teams and tournament organizers that are in the system, and ultimately create a better path than we have in the past for an amateur player to go from their bedroom to an amateur team to, hopefully an academy team and then an LCS team. So we have a bunch of plans that we've been working on, plans that we've been discussing internally, discussing with LCS teams, discussing with some folks in the amateur scene. But ultimately, that's the, I can kind of give you the goalposts, and the goalposts are to make sure that we're continuing to, the goalposts are to make sure that when we come into the amateur scene, we're doing so in a way that's supportive of the infrastructure that's there and helps to rise it up or raise it up, rather than coming in to kind of be, the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, nothing like a Zoom call to really remind you that you need a shave.
You look great, Chris. It's okay.
No, thanks.
Okay, next question from Travis.
Hey, Chris, I was just curious if there was any progress made on broadcast rights deals for LCS or English-speaking center.
Yeah, we've had I guess progress is a relative term. And hi, Travis. We've had a bunch of conversations. We've talked to some various partners. All of those conversations are moving forward. So we're not at a point where we have where we selected someone. We're not at a point where we have eliminated anyone, but kind of the conversations are continuing. Yeah.
Got time for a couple more. Let's do one from Parks. Go ahead, Parks.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Parks. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So between the spring and summer season, a player's status within the league was leaked on a stream, arguably devaluing that player by removing some of the leverage in his contract negotiation. As far as like what we in the public know, there weren't any like real repercussions from the leak, and the player wasn't provided any protection or compensation. Why was nothing done to help him in that situation, and has work been done to help protect players better in the future?
Yeah, I think I think ultimately we reached out to the player. We had conversations with the player. We had conversations with the teams involved, including the team where he ultimately wound up going. We had a much better sense at that point of kind of what his status looked like than the public did. And there are situations in which we would prefer to be silent on the things that we're doing in the background and take the criticism for not acting rather than talk about a player's situation publicly. So, ultimately kind of the most I'll say on it is we understood what was going on, probably more than was in the public eye, and made sure like we could see things the public couldn't, and didn't provide a ton of visibility to the public on what those things were, because there's some things that we're just not going to push out there. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's kind of a delicate one.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks both. Got one more from Tom. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, thank you. I know this is like the press conference is meant to be like all super serious and like it's all been super heavy in subject and stuff like that. But Chris, you've been very candid so far. I just want to know, what's been your favorite moment in the LCS this year so far? What are you most proud of?
I mean, the thing I'm most proud of is it was getting the league back up in week 8. COVID sucks, right? Like I appreciate that, like in a press conference, that's not really breaking news. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, except maybe COVID itself. But we at the beginning of March, and we saw what was going on around the world, and had some sense that it was going to get to the U.S., but I don't think any of us on the team ever thought we'd be in the position that we're in now. Someone on the team asked me, I don't know, sometime around week 6 or week 7, if we were considering playing games remotely, and I laughed and said, like, there's just no world where that happens, right? We'd rather cancel than play remote. And then a week or two went by, and the reality of the situation started to sink in, and we went from this situation where, like, we have a good choice and a bad choice, right? It's really easy to ignore the bad choice. When you've got a bad choice and a worse choice, the bad choice doesn't look so bad anymore. So we spent a lot of time on our side figuring out how do we get a remote production going? How do we hold games remotely in a way that's going to make not only like keep players safe, but make them feel like they're safe, because the perception matters, right? Even if you're safe, if you don't feel like you're in a safe environment, right, it does really awful things to your mentality. So we wanted to make sure that we could hold games that they would feel competitive, that, you know, they're, you know, while we trust that our players and our teams don't want to do anything to cheat, you know, it's like not that kind of ecosystem. You can't be too careful around these things, right? These are players making, you know, real money, with teams spending real money, and everyone's got sponsors, and fans have expectations that we're running a fair and competitive sport, and we really wanted to live up to that. So when we shut the league down in week 8, it was really, really rough. The work that our team did to get everything back together and get everything up and running in less than a week was, I mean, I've talked about it with some folks. I've given interviews about it, but I'm just in awe of the work the team did. So, you know, ultimately, that's the thing I'm most proud of, the resilience that our internal team has shown, the resilience that I've seen from team orgs and pro players, the response that we've got from fans. Like we kept delivering something that brings people a lot of enjoyment at a time where like a lot of joy has been sucked out of the world. So anyway, that's when you talk about the thing I'm most proud of, like it's that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much for watching that piece of content. Trying to bring more energy to these outros lately, because people sometimes say I don't got it, but I got it. Woo! Okay, listen. I'm just going to cut to the chase. Alienware sponsored this video. I really appreciate them and everything they do. There's a link in the video description below if you want to click that and go check out some of their stuff, including, by the way, and I don't think it's up on the site yet, but very soon, consider as a preview because there's some articles out about it. They've announced a 360 hertz refresh rate monitor. So if you're doing some FPS gaming, some stuff where you want high refresh rates, that's where you go. Also, they're going to do a 38-inch ultra-wide curved. I've got their 34 right now, and I love it. But this is going to be bonkers. Then they also have a 27-inch gaming monitor coming in with an edge-to-edge display with NVIDIA G-Sync Ultimate. And a 240 hertz refresh rate. So there's just a bunch of cool stuff that they're doing in the monitor space right now. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to click that link below.